Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee with Kayla. That's coffee with a K. This podcast is for those interested in health, positivity, current events, and just keeping up with me. I'm a boss, public health professional, coach, motivator, and your host, so I hope you enjoy the show. Hello everyone! Thank you for joining me on the fourth episode of Coffee with Kayla, the podcast. This week we're going to be talking about what is a dream. So recently my husband and I just went to Washington, D.C. We have been kind of cooped up in the house taking care of our newborn, and we thought it'd be a great idea to road trip across the country 18 plus hours to go to one of our favorite vacation spots or our favorite spot to visit. The drive was totally fine. It was really long, but we made it. And the best part is we got to spend 4 days in DC. So while we were there, we were just very inspired. If you've ever been there, it's so cool. The Capitol's there, the Supreme Court. You've got all these monuments dedicated to amazing people who really shaped our nation, who stood up for what they believed in and made great changes. And so when you're there, you can't help but feel like you are in this institution or this place of where our forefathers, stood once and made these really important decisions. And you're like, wow, I'm a piece of this. And it really makes you think, like, what am I doing with my life? How am I adding value to the world? What do I want to do? And how can I dream and aspire and actually make change? So I posted on my Instagram stories, what would you guys want for a podcast episode? And the choices were things to do in DC, and then the other choice I thought of was dreaming and doing. And dreaming and doing won out by a few votes, so I'm definitely going to do this episode today, and then I'll probably still do a what to do in DC episode just because it's definitely worth listing all the cool things you should do if you haven't already been there, or if you've been there like 6-7 times like me. So, what is a dream? When you Google it, you come up with a series of thoughts, images, and sensations occurring in a person's mind during sleep. So, Freud actually believed that dreams were a way to interpret your deepest desires or your, emotions. And others seem to think that dreams have to do with memory formation or problem solving. So I'm definitely in this camp. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but I feel like I have my best ideas when I'm sleeping. I'll often go to bed trying to thinking about something or purposely thinking, okay, I'm just gonna ruminate on this topic, and then I'll wake up with an answer or aha, or I know what to do, having some clarity, or maybe coming up with a creative idea that I wasn't able to do during the day. And I think this has a lot to do with the way that our brain works, and that it kind of it sorts through all the information we've had throughout the day and compiles things into different networks so that we can save important things and kind of free our mind from the things that don't really matter. So that's a little bit nerdy, but definitely kind of in that camp. And then further, some cultures believe that even a piece of your soul leaves yourself when you're dreaming, and it can travel to other places or dimensions and even see yourself. So I feel like I've experienced it too. I don't know if you guys have, but when I'm dreaming, sometimes I feel like I'm watching myself go through the motions. Like I'm literally an observer, and I'm seeing myself. So that's really interesting. To add to that, our culture is really interested in dreams. So if you think about media, like books, like Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, that whole book is a dream, and it makes no sense, just like some dreams don't. And then it seems to make complete sense too in the end. And then when you think of The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy goes to sleep, she encounters all these people and realizes what her values are, and that there's no place like home. And then most recently, I think about the movie Inception, which blows my mind every single time. Implanting yourself in other people's dreams, getting into someone else's mind, and even losing yourself in your mind to avoid pain and struggle. So that is very interesting. So all this to say that that's kind of the literal, when we're sleeping, we're dreaming. But then to talk about the other piece, which is to dream. What does it mean to dream about a goal that you have? And when I think about this, I think the right word, or the word that I think of right away, is to aspire, or to have an aspiration. I don't know if you can hear it right now, but my baby girl is making little cooey sounds. She's in the bouncer, but she's learning how to use her voice. All right. So to have an aspiration, or to aspire to greatness, or to great things, or to have a dream. So I think about this in terms of contemplating the possibility of doing something, or another definition you'll find online is a hope or an ambition of achieving something. And for me, Cinderella said it best when she said, "A dream is a wish your heart makes when you're fast asleep." In dreams you will lose your heartache, whatever you wish for you keep. Sorry, I just had to keep going on there. But, it's a wish. It's your deep desire. And then above all, though, what I really want to focus on today is we can all have dreams, but a dream is just a wish, or a hope, or a thought. And it's important to have hopes. But we need to do something, or else our dreams won't become a reality. They'll just be wishes. So we need to take action. So I hope to inspire you today and give you some tools to help you take action. But before I give you guys those tools, I do want to take a moment to pause and acknowledge equity versus equality. So I think in this conversation about dreams, when we're so excited to have dreams, we think about, I can do this and I can reach this goal. It might not be as easy as for someone else to reach that same goal. Okay, so equality aims to kind of give everyone the same opportunities, or promote fairness, whereas equity gives everyone what they need to be successful. So basically, it's thinking about how everyone has maybe starts from a different place, and there are opportunity gaps. And you can give everyone the same opportunity, but if someone still has a large gap, that opportunity might not be enough for them to get to where they need to be successful, as compared to someone who might be more privileged and have more opportunity. And that person might have an easier time getting to that same place. So there is an infographic online that shows 3 people standing looking over a fence, or trying to look over a fence, and there's a tall, medium, and a short person. And equality would be giving everyone the same sized box to stand on to attempt to see over the fence. And while that's fair, I suppose, as each box is the same size, it's not great because the short person still can't see over the fence. So they still don't have the same opportunities as the tall person, even though their box was the same. Versus the other side of the infographic that shows the same 3 people trying to look over the fence, where the short person gets more boxes, or taller boxes, and the taller person doesn't need as many boxes to see over the fence. And so they're getting different opportunities, or different size opportunities, but they're getting what they need to reach the same place. There have been criticisms of that infographic because by drawing people as different heights, it's making it seem like it's intrinsically their fault that they have these gaps. But I think that it wasn't intended to be like that. And that's why we're really talking about the conversation of we're drawing the conversation to opportunity gaps. It's not an intrinsic like, oh, I'm shorter and therefore it's my fault I can't see over the fence. It's no, I have less opportunity, or less privilege, and therefore I can't see over the fence. So I'm starting from a different place than someone who has more opportunity. So I just wanted to acknowledge that as we talk about dreams, because I want people who might be listening to either To think, okay, if you have opportunity or privilege, you maybe have a computer or a phone, or you have a library card and you can listen to this podcast. That's awesome. People with less privilege might not be able to listen, or might not have as easy as a time as you. Maybe it's on the flip side. Maybe you are struggling and you see other people who have more opportunity getting ahead. And so I would encourage everyone to stay positive and bind together and help each other. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about public health, because really our goal is to close those opportunity gaps so that everyone can be successful. So if you are someone who has privilege and you see someone else who has potential and has a dream, or you believe that they could have a dream, reach out to them and help them. That's part of your civic duty. And if you're someone who is struggling and is behind, know that you can do this, and do your best to seek out resources and ask for help and never give up, and know that there are people who do want to help you and that you have the strength to do whatever you can that is going to help you reach your goals. All right, so let's dive on in to talk about the things you can do to work towards your dream. So the first thing that I think is really important is to declare your dream. So make it real for yourself by telling another person or people. This has everything to do with accountability. These people or this person's going to be your cheerleader. They can be your mentor if you want them to. They can help you check in throughout the process to see how it's going, and you can lean on them for encouragement and support. So make sure it's someone that you trust, but someone who's going to be real with you and be like, hey, are you doing this? Or how can I help you? Write your dream down. So this is really going to help make it real for you too, because once you write it down, you're going to see it on paper and you're going to be like, okay, I've told myself this is something that I want to do, and it's out of my head and onto this paper. It's becoming real. It's growing legs. It's becoming, it's something that I can actually plan towards. And then my favorite one is to say it out loud, and even better yet, say it to your face in the mirror. So look yourself in the eyes in the mirror and say whatever your goal is. So maybe it's going to nursing school or something like that. Say, I'm going to be a nurse in 4 years, whatever your goal is. And that's going to make it more real for you. And you'll say it over and over in your head, but you also have that picture of what you look like when you wanted to change, your life or make this decision or whatever it is. Second thing is, while you're doing this, you definitely want to think about your why. So you might have this dream that you've been thinking about and this goal, but also you really want to think about and write down your whys so that when you're going through the process of working towards your dreams, and you might feel discouraged if there's like a barrier that comes up, or you get caught up in the heat of the moment, or there's other things that come up, you can always come back to your why. And I know people say this and it feels cheesy or corny, and there's other ways to hold yourself accountable, but this is one way. Okay, so, and I can speak to this. So I have a lot of different notebooks and journals. If you know me, you know that. And I know there are like-minded people out there that are the same. And I don't always finish writing in them, but I'll start writing and I'll be like really inspired and I'll write down a goal and a why. And then I'll come back to it and read it and be like, yes, I forgot about that. And you tell yourself, oh, I'm not going to forget why because this is so meaningful to me. But it's super easy to forget. So write it down. Say it out loud to yourself in the mirror and tell another person. All right. So the next thing, or the third thing, is when you're writing your goals or thinking about them, you want to be really strategic. And so you're going to want to use the SMART format. So SMART is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable/achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Okay? So some of you might have heard of this. It's pretty commonly used in like science or in the health sciences. I'm not sure about the other disciplines, but you're going to want to make sure that it's not so ambiguous that you're not really sure what the goal is. You're going to want to make sure that there's some numbers or metric that you can use to determine if you've actually reached your goal. You're going to want to make sure that it's realistic and attainable. So like something that's like ridiculous and far-fetched, you're going to set yourself up for failure. So make sure that you make it realistic, but also it's a dream, so go big, right? And this piece might mean that you're going to have a lot of tiny goals in order to get to your big one. And then time bound. So you're going to want to be able to know when you're going to start measuring and when you're going to end measuring whether or not you've reached your goal. And it's always good to put a time on it so that it's not just like out there in the universe forever and you're like, oh, I guess I never reached that. I thought I was going to do it, but I just didn't. So smart. I'll put a link to this in the show notes so that you, like a template, so that you can go over your goals. But I would say, adding years or times, or like say you're going to go to nursing school, but maybe your goal more broadly is you're going to go to nursing school and graduate in this year specifically, and you're going to graduate with this GPA, whatever. That's an example of a SMART goal. You wouldn't want to just say like, I'm going to go to college, right? Because then it's like, okay, cool, but like, what are you going to do? How are you going to do that? When are you going to do that? So really think through using the SMART format. The next thing is after you've done your SMART format, you're going to want to create a roadmap. And so what I would suggest is, like I said earlier, breaking that SMART goal into smaller goals. So you're going to have maybe things that you're going to do daily to reach your dreams, maybe short-term goals. So maybe they're like monthly goals, maybe an intermediate goal. So this could be like 6 months or a year or whatever it is for you. And then long-term. So this would be like 1, 2, 3 years, whatever it is. And for me, what I would do is I would start at the goal at the end. So like if it's 5 years from now, and I would work backwards to determine the things that I need to do to get there. And that might help me set up a roadmap. So, long term, maybe it's like 4 years from now, I want to graduate from nursing school. Okay, well, where do I need to be with a GPA of this? Where do I need to be at 2 years? Where do I need to be at 1 year? Where do I need to be at 6 months? And maybe at 3 months from now, is it that I need to be applying for schools? So that can really help you. I used to have a passion planner, and I'm not paid to talk about this. I really liked it. It helps you kind of split your big goals into smaller chunks. I used it for a while. I found it was really helpful. I stopped probably just because I have this like crazy obsession with lots of notebooks, like I said, and I keep coming back to it. But it's really cool. In the front, it has like a page to talk about all your goals, and then each month it has like what have you done to get there. And so I would encourage you to maybe pick that up if you're interested. It's going to be a helpful tool for you to be able to kind of write these things down. But have a roadmap. Be realistic, break it down into smaller, achievable chunks so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Because I know when you have a big dream, you're like, yes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get there. And then you're like, oh my gosh, this is really big. And that can be really discouraging. All right, and the next thing is set up time to do the things on your roadmap. So if you have a daily thing that you need to do to get to your goals, put that on your calendar. Schedule it in your planner. If you use your Google Calendar, cool, whatever. Schedule time so that you can actually do the things so you don't forget. And similarly to what we were talking about before, it's easy to say, oh, I'm going to remember to do these things, but life goes really fast. A month flies by in a blink of an eye. So schedule time. And if you're needing accountability, ask your person for help. And schedule time to check in with them. Just to tell them about your goals. If you're working on these awesome things, you're going to be really excited to talk through these things with them and say, look what I've accomplished in a week or 3 months, whatever it is. And if you're having trouble, ask for help. They can be your sounding board to remind you of your whys and why you're doing the things. Lastly, I just want to let you guys know that I know I've experienced this, and maybe some of you have too. It's really easy to compare yourself to others and have these dreams and then think about, like, oh my gosh, what are people going to think of these dreams that I have? They seem really crazy. Or, oh, someone else already has this dream or this idea or goal. Like, I don't even know why I'm doing it. And so I would suggest that you put your blinders on and stay in your own lane and keep an open mind when you're working on your goals and barriers come up or things aren't always going your way. Because if you are persistent and if you really want something, you're going to persevere and you can keep going. Every day is a new day. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode on Dreaming and Doing. I hope I inspired you and gave you some ideas for how to get started. I do want to leave you with a quote. I love them. I feel like they're inspirational to me and help me keep some perspective. This is one that I have kept close to me for some time now. It's by Paul Wellstone. And he said, if we don't fight hard enough for the things we stand for, at some point we have to recognize that we don't really stand for them. And to me, this means that, you guys, if you have a dream or something you really care about or an issue that means a lot to you, we need to be fighting for it. It's going to be hard. We need to be advocating and we need to be relentless and keep going. Because that will really show you that you really care and are passionate about something if that's what you're doing. If you're not, maybe that's when you recognize, like, maybe this dream isn't for me, or maybe this isn't something that I really care about as much as I thought. If it is your jam and you realize you haven't stepped it up, maybe this is the point where you realize, hey, I need to do more. I need to dig deeper into this, and hopefully that's motivating to you. Again, thanks very much for listening. Please check out the show notes, and I'm going to have templates and links to all the things I talked about, some resources to help you get started. Thank you for listening to Coffee with Kayla. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, please subscribe and leave a review. You can stalk my Instagram by following me at Kayla_Cerulean and check out my website for more content at ceruleanonline.com. Thanks again for your ear, and remember to be a light in the world. Until next time, have a good one.